What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video here on Peg City Hockey. Game 5. It was all or nothing for the Winnipeg Jets. After two complete stinkers in St. Louis for games 3 and 4, everything was riding on this game in Winnipeg tonight. And the Jets absolutely delivered. This entire game was electric, pretty much like every single playoff game in Winnipeg. There's nothing like it in sports. The whiteout is the ultimate sports fans' destination, and the entire crowd, inside and out, was insane tonight, as you can see from what's in front of you. You know, the crowd. This is just a small sample size of what the crowd was like today, and I thought it was crazy for game 1 and 2. The entire city showed up for this game, and it was wild. And they had good things to be celebrating. You know, even before the game, Nikolai Ehlers was seen skating in a non-contact jersey, you know, at this morning's skate, which is huge, especially considering the fact that Gabriel Vilardi is back in the lineup, his first game of the playoffs, and he was massive tonight. And, you know, like I already said, everything was riding on this game. We all know how much was at stake. You know, there have been flashbacks to past playoff performances, the last couple of games, you know, Hellebuyck, like there's just so many storylines to follow, and as, you know, a Jets fan, it feels like you're just getting Vietnam flashbacks and all those memes, you know, and stuff like that. That's what it feels like, you know. And I did not fight in Vietnam, but you definitely understand what I am saying. And it is one of those things that, you know, you kind of, as a fan, go into a game like this confident, but also terrified. At least that's how I felt, because everything was riding on this, and the energy in the building, inside and out, like I already said, was just so electric. Add to it even more, and just, you know, I wish I could have been there. You know, seeing this shot too of the flag in the crowd was just, that got me so hyped just on the couch even for this game. Like, god damn, that was an awesome scene. What a scene in Winnipeg, as always. And, you know, this game had everything in it. You know, for a game that was hyped up and had everything riding on it, you know, super important game. The stakes were high, and the Jets absolutely delivered, and this game delivered in every area. It was fast. There were hits, there were fights, there were goals, and, you know, there were fantastic saves left, right, and center. And more importantly in this game, you know, the Jets, I don't want to say the Jets woke up, but I'm going to say it anyway, because the Jets woke up. You know, even in game 1 and 2, the top players were doing their thing and helping get those wins for the club more than anything. You know, the depth was not scoring, and they weren't, you know, stepping up when they needed to necessarily on the score sheet. And tonight was the exact opposite of that. You know, even starting things off early, you know, Kyle Connor, you know, what, a minute and a half in, gets that goal, generated again off of a Mason Appleton on that line. And, you know, they had that goal's huge, you know, to have that goal so early compared to what the last couple of games, getting scored on so early and in your home barn as well. You know, the roof blew off that place, and it was wild to see just on TV, and I can only imagine what it was like in there, because like I said, it was loud for game 1 and 2 and I was in the building, so I cannot imagine what it was like tonight, because it was crazy loud on the television. And, you know, again, the top players were doing the things that they needed to do, and they were huge. But more importantly, the depth stepped up. You know, you had Nino Niederreiter tonight. He's been a passenger, in my opinion, for a while. He has just been coasting around out there. He's been due for a goal. You know, he's had some ups and downs in his play, but you could just tell he was hungry and due for one. And tonight he had a fantastic game, a game where he needed to be, his presence needed to be felt. He was everywhere on the ice, and, you know, he really stepped up. And, you know, Nino's been good for us in the past in the playoffs, so we needed that type of performance, and he absolutely delivered tonight. Without a doubt, was one of the most impactful performances on the bottom six, and really helped, you know, kind of just keep that energy up. You know, the fourth line did its thing as well, lots of energy, but, you know, Nino Niederreiter tonight generated a ton of scoring opportunities, and he was all around the net, throwing the pucks out front, taking shots in front, and just doing everything that Nino does great. And it was a huge aspect of this team's success tonight. And, you know, it goes for the entirety of the depth. You know, you just had depth scoring all around. You know, the second line has been stale, you know, this playoff for this series. It's been stale for the Jets, and missing Ehlers has really hurt. Same with Vilardi, and, you know, having, you know, Vilardi come back was huge. But then obviously Scheifele goes down. Scheifele gets hit. You know, obviously there's this huge collision he has with Schenn, like a massive late hit. He leaves his feet. Like, I don't like the hit. I think it's dirty, and Scheifele goes out. Now, obviously we don't know anything as of this point of recording about anything about his condition, if he'll be back or not. And even if that was the hit that injured him, there's so much controversy around that right now. But, you know, without Scheifele, this team's other leaders stepped up. Connor Hellebuyck tonight was absolutely incredible, where he has just not been the last couple of games. He got back-to-back pulls, and tonight Connor Hellebuyck, you know, went back to his regular season form with look at that incredible paddle save in the first period. Just incredible performances all around, and he made the saves when it mattered. He had one bad goal. I think it was with the second goal or whatever it was, the Snuggeroo goal. Not a good look at all. Not a good goal whatsoever. But the end of the day, you know, he still made huge saves and got this team where they needed to. And talking about the depth stepping up, with Scheifele going down, Nemestikov stepped up to that first line and answered the bell. He was incredible tonight. He scored the biggest goal probably in the game. A great feed from Kyle Connor, who again was huge after Mark Scheifele went down and did not return for the second and third period. You know, Kyle Connor's presence was felt all over the ice, I feel like. He just really showed why he's one of the best players in the NHL, one of the most underrated players in the NHL. And, you know, Nemestikov as well. He's been so underrated his whole time in Winnipeg, his whole career, and he's really, really found his footing lately, and he's just been really damn good. And in this game, he finally exploded offensively when we needed him to, and he was huge for the Jets, and he won them this game on the score sheet when it mattered. And Nemestikov was the difference maker when he finally needed to step up. The depth stepped up. Now, again, the long-term prosperity of not, you know, having Scheifele, I'm not looking forward to that. But, you know, seeing what Kyle Connor was able to do today, even you know, stepping up there with being second all-time now in playoff points for 2.0 Jets, right behind Scheifele, is huge, and it goes to show how much of a playoff performer he is and how big he's been for this club in the past. And he led this team with Nemestikov and helped, you know, really just turn on the gas in that second and third period and finish the Blues, and they needed to finish the Blues tonight. This game could not be close. The Jets needed to get their momentum back in this series, and, you know, now you have the momentum going back after a huge game going into St. Louis. Now, again, they've had absolute piss poor performances in St. Louis in game 3 and 4, but I think going into a game 6 where the Jets have a chance to, you know, clinch to the second round, I think that's huge for this club and what this mentality has been. And I think that this was a huge pushback game in itself at home, the way they performed, what they were able to do, and then losing Scheifele as well, and the persevering through that, the depth finally, you know, stepping up when a massive injury is there in a playoff game, and they won when they had to. Now, obviously, again, I'm very worried about Mark Scheifele. I will be glued to Twitter trying to figure out what the hell is going on there in the coming, you know, next 24 hours, I would imagine. But nonetheless, you know, this team won where they had to, and I have confidence in them still, a lot more confidence after game 3 and 4 that they can, you know, close out this series. You know, maybe the Jets facing a little bit of adversity is a good thing for them. You know, that they're getting this out early. That's what I'm trying to think right now. I'm staying positive because how could I not after a performance like that? An incredible game for the Winnipeg Jets where they did everything that they needed to, and they did it right, well, and competent, and without what arguably their best player. So an incredible team performance today, you know, on the backs of all their stars and all their depth, and, you know, this was just a testament to how good this team is and what we've seen all regular season. So an incredible game. The fans, as always, were buzzing. I can't wait to watch Game 5, and I hope to God that the Jets get to see the second round this year. I think they close it out. We're going to have to wait and see. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. As always, thank you so much for watching this video. Peace, love, and positivity as always. Go Jets, go. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram if you haven't already, and I will see you all in the next one very, very soon.
It'll all be over.